All right, welcome everyone. Welcome back. Day 3, the final day of No War 2025. We're just letting people in from the waiting room, so we'll give a few seconds to get settled in. Lovely to see so many familiar faces that I've now seen for these 3 days in a row. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat, say hello, and say where you're tuning in from. We have people from over 40 countries around the world. All right. Well, I think everyone's in from the waiting room at the moment. I'm sure more people will keep coming in, but we want to stay on schedule. So I'm going to pass it to my colleague, Phil Gittins, who is World Beyond War's Education Director, to introduce this first session. So take it away, Phil.
Thank you so much. Lovely to see you all. So it's my privilege to introduce Dana Dajani. Dana is an award-winning Palestinian-American actress, poet, and presenter whose work bridges performance, activism, and the cinematic arts. Her voice has resonated with global audiences from the Sydney Opera House to the Guggenheim Museum in Bilbao and beyond. As a performance poet, Dana blends gesture, character, and verse to deliver one-woman pieces that tackle themes of justice, identity, and belonging. Her unique fusion of poetry and theatre has earned her numerous accolades, including Artist of the Year by Emirates Woman and the Young Arab Award for Entertainment. Beyond performance, Dana is dedicated educator, humanitarian who designs programs for creative development and social change, reflecting a deep commitment to justice and imagination. Can't wait. Over to you, Dana. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Phil. Salam. Salam, everyone. My name is Dana. As mentioned, I'm a proud Palestinian performance poet, and I believe that poetry is more powerful than politics when it comes to building bridges of connection and creating new paths for future action inspired by and for humanity. I'm going to be sharing 3 original pieces. Let's see how we go on time, maybe more. And my work sits at the intersection of spoken word poetry and theater. So I'll be getting into character for some of those pieces. But before we begin, I want to say thank you to Greta, to Rachel, to Phil, to everyone who was involved in making this conference possible. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. And I'd like to invite you to take a breath with me. Let's take a deep breath together. Alhamdulillah. With gratitude for all those who have walked our lands, worked our lands, built our lands. With gratitude for our ancestors who made a home, planted a seed, grew a lineage that led us here. With gratitude for all the hands, helping, guiding, opened hands to welcome and receive and show up with care. With gratitude for fists raised in protest, holding the line. We honor our pain for Gaza in this time. We honor our pain for Palestine, Syria, Lebanon in this time. Yemen, Ethiopia, Congo, Myanmar, Sudan in this time. We honor our pain for the world in this time. We honor all the lives lost to greed, the innumerable cost of corruption, the rippling destruction. How? How do we say goodbye? When? When will we say enough? Who is to be held accountable? What is to be resurrected from the rubble? Let's envision it together. Another deep breath to ground us here and land us in this liminal digital moment, in a place where the heart speaks, where logic and reason don't reign supreme. This for me is the realm of poetry. So to start this evening, I'd like to share a poem of mine called Love Letters from Palestine. Love Letters from Palestine is about the Palestinian Nakba, and it tells the story of the occupation of Palestine from the perspective of a Hajj, or a grandmother, who was born around the time of the Nakba and experienced through her life the occupation of Palestine. This poem is dedicated to our ancestors, and to share it, I'll get into my first character of the night. They call me Nakba, named for the catastrophe born on the same day as I welcome 75 years fighting the threat of genocide has left me unspooled like the thread I use to embroider pillows and thobes with passion and the hope that one day I will again feel at home on this land that my grandfather tilled with his hands under the umbrage of a gold leaf dome. And all I've inherited is internal displacement, like my gut in my throat when I hear of olive trees older than you and me by centuries, uprooted like so many families, relinquished to refugee camps where there is no defense. Though in the West Bank, we live restrained by a fence, thick enough to drown out the sounds of our sorrows and muffle the marching beat of endless feet, martyred in neat lines which the media sweeps so slyly under the rug of humanity. The insanity of your alleged birthright Israelis minting fresh citizens they import entitlement and market it as democracy. And though your apartheid apathy acknowledges 1 million of my friends as second-class citizens among you, millions still are caught in between, unaccounted for in your governmental scheme, and that doesn't include the millions still who can only dream of one day reclaiming their ancestry. Frozen in the struggle to remain Palestinian and present, to retain the essence of الزعتر والزيتون اللوز والليمون. In the spirit of those lost, the Arab spring thaws, the sting of aching jaws, letting cries of freedom ring through bullet-battered walls. But the numbers dead here still spiral, like some stupefying defect, 1 missing, 2 lost, 3 buried, 5, 8, 11, 13. Welcome, we've grown accustomed to this pattern of killing, but when does the sequence end? Tell me, Israel, through which ethical lens does your ethnic cleansing make sense? The irony is a bit too much for me to tolerate. While your IDF soldiers are toasting l'chaim, Palestinian children are dying. Our sons and daughters prisoners of war, living on salt and water, and I don't mean tears alone. So tell me how, ya Dani Ayalon, can you deny that Palestine ever existed? How can you say with a straight face that before 48 there was nothing here but the potential for a Jewish state? Before you fed us your hate, welcome, we ate like kings in the Fertile Crescent. Doctors, lawyers, and musicians, our land was golden, the most bountiful and open. You've defiled our stunning cities and our pristine history. And yet, I'll grant you amnesty, you orphan-making orphans, because you have never known the sanctuary of a home, and it's no wonder you want this land for your own. Our mountains and coastline, lush green and stones, which still stand to rebel against your bombshells, are a sight to remind you that your might does not negate our right to life. And I must admit, I was jealous when you sent love letters to Iran. It made me wonder, how did I ever treat you wrong? It made me wonder what possesses a throng of Americans to suit up and serve to protect another homeland which they don't deserve. With only weapons in the water, only bullets in the bread, I was knocked out from rage, stars of David round my head. Last time I yelled, hey, Ariel Pharaoh, will you let my people go? Because this land is holy and was so before your uranium blasts. And at the end of the day, we both share the same Semitic past. But in the 1950s, your discriminatory policies helped you confiscate our land, classifying us as absentees. Though we never left sight of home, it was only out of reach as we stood helpless, caught in your checkpoint, present absentees, and watched as Jewish families commandeered Palestinian homes, with food still cooking hot on the stove, beds made and bills paid, and pets waiting on the floor, sniffing out the stranger who just walked in the door. We never abandoned our Palestine, and now as refugees we carry her spirit internationally. And Israel, we refute your dumbing down of this occupation to call it a dispute, though it's not just a semantic issue. So I will continue to resist amidst your tanks and settlements, separating, segregating in your racist strategy, like Netanyahu, who chose you to inflict so much suffering unto me. Israel, I dream of peace, which is no substitute for justice. Israel with your barbed wire hugs, and Israel with your uranium love, and Israel with your bulletproof apathy. Israel with your affinity for make-believe. Israel, I am waiting for your liberating compassion, for you to discover your love of Palestinian Bedouins and Bashas, for this love cannot be contained, which is why love doesn't die when bodies don't remain, which is why love is all that's left, though my heart has hardened like the stone pit of an olive. Don't you see, Israel? The only way I know to give you my very best is to rip open my vest, reach into my chest, dislodge this now calcified organ, kiss my fist, and with a wish, send it flying over the wall towards your settlements, which haven't settled anything at all, and hope you receive its good intent. You see, I don't resent you. We'll never move past this. If I did, my life is over. I just want a better future for my kids. This rock was never meant for anything more than to knock some sense into you. Why continue war? We are one human race. There are no walls from space. And if you could just see my face, the daughter of a catastrophe. Perhaps it may inspire in you some humanity. Israel, all I do is give you time. But until you get in line, I will keep throwing these love letters from Palestine. So, I wrote this piece many years ago, and year by year I grow older with the character. 64 years fighting the threat of genocide, 65, 66. And I never expected this to be such a painful outcome of this poem, to age with her, to speak louder and still have this plea fall on deaf ears. But here we are, and I feel like it is being heard, and more people are amplifying this call for peace. And I'm curious if we have any people in the room who are descendants of Palestinians who were displaced during the Nakba. If so, feel free to write in the chat and tell us which city you're from. And who has ancestors that experienced some form of colonization somewhere else in the world. Also feel free to comment and let us know. In the meanwhile, I'll share one more piece. I think I am going a little bit over time. But the next piece I'd like to share is a view for future leadership. It's called If I Was President. And as I'm performing, I would like to invite you to consider, or maybe towards the end of the poem, What would you do if you were president? What would you do with unchecked power and resources? What would you gift to the world? Taxpayers, shareholders, and Instagrammers, lend me your fears. The evil that men do lives after them, yet you seem disposed to brutish beasts, men who have lost their reason now. Bear with me. If I was president, I would drown out the demands of the corporatocracy and focus on communities. My foreign policy would be to explode education opportunities onto third world countries and refugees. Healthcare and housing, why, they'd be free. Imagine what we could aspire to create if we didn't have to hustle to fulfill our basic needs. If I was president, my role as conflict mediator would include therapy and hugs. My constitution would be universal love. My border policy would be open door. I'd eliminate banks and in turn free the poor from the shackles of debt. I'd do some spring cleaning in the media outlets and TV stations so that only honest journalism and valuable information was broadcast to my nation. Well, if I was president, I'd make my citizens pay taxes in the form of planting trees. Your tax return would be heirloom seeds. There'd be a national farming day off every week, and Monsanto could kiss my plush pink cheeks if I was president. If I was president, classrooms would have no walls. Teachers would be paid more than guys who play ball, and education would be a community call. Because I know that it takes a village to raise a child, and so it would take the whole world to lift up one country. And when we got to where I think we could be, why, we'd elevate all the rest so that they can see what we see from such great heights as true liberty. Now, I'm not talking about spreading democracy through war games. No, I'm talking about authentic development and fair trade, a free-flowing exchange of ideas, resources, and yes, humans. As your presidential candidate, I should tell you, I think restrictions on immigration are a bit stupid. Anyone who plants roots here will surely bloom, and what a beautiful garden that would make for all of you. If I was president, I would hand out passports and postcards, encourage my citizens to travel to the far reaches of the earth, asking all who ventured out to share what they learned so that my nation could never become a xenophobic herd of ignorant, violent, belligerent, closed-minded, right-wing leeches who spew hate speech. If I was president, I think it's clear what my stance on welfare would be. A top priority, to ensure that my citizens felt compelled to find work in an industry which speaks to their soul and heart. If I was president, creating your perfect job would be an art that we all would enjoy, because I know that what you do with love will benefit every girl and boy in our nation and probably beyond. If I was president, I would lead a global campaign to collect every weapon on Earth, march them straight up into a volcano, dump them in, and brace for planetary rebirth, because with no hateful metal between us, we'd have to dance out our differences. There'd be no more battling, just the rattling of bones to booming music till all collapse, sweaty, settled, unassuming, and laughing at all those moves they saw those dancing troops doing. Our bodies not so different after all, free to be loved, decorated, celebrated, not ravaged by war. If I was president, I would tell Big Pharma to stuff it with their pills, make sure BP, Shell, and the like never had another oil spill, and assure that Mother Earth stops footing the bill for our compulsive consumption. Now, with these upcoming elections on the horizon, I just wanted to make clear you understand the person I am, the principles I stand for, and the world I envision. But ultimately, my fellow citizens, it is your decision. Whether or not you elect a president who advocates division could lead you on a neo-inquisition. Oh, beware the hype of television. And stay true to your democratic values. Because if I was president, if I was president, that is what I'd do. So I want to read the comments. What would you do as president? I hope you enjoyed these poems. If you want to hear more of my work, if you want to stay connected, I hope you will find me online at dajani.poetry. And I want to leave you with just one request, and that is that we never stop talking about Palestine. The Palestinian cause is at the heart of, I believe, global liberation. And not only must we never stop talking about Palestine and Sudan and Congo and what's happening with the US, with ICE, and all the countries which have countless manifestations of injustice, we must rally, we must gather, we must fundraise, we must mobilize, we must inform, we must educate, we must take legal action, we must boycott, we must petition, we must sing, we must pray, we must love, and above all, we must never give up our hope and our belief in a better world for all of us. I'm Dana Dajani. Thank you so much for having me. Assalamu alaikum.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Feeling the love here. And you can see, thank you, Danis. Thank you so much. You can see everybody putting hearts up here and waving and showing their appreciation. That was amazing. Another wonderful reminder that the work that we do to challenge and oppose war needs to balance both scientific inquiry with the creativity, imagination, and focus of an artist. So, and you exemplified that brilliantly. So, thank you so much, Dana. I think I pass over to Greta now to lead us on to our next speaker. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Donna. That was incredible. And I think a perfect way to start off our day 3 here as we're imagining what a world beyond war could look like today. So thank you.
Thank you.